Hi lovely, thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to this video and welcome to my channel if this is your first time. My name is Hilda Gloria. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the red subscribe button down below so that you are notified when I post a new video. Now, I don't know what you have, but get some tea, get a cup of tea, get some water, get a glass of wine or whatever you like to sip on, because we are going to be talking about life as a black girl in Italy. Now, I know that this is a very sensitive topic and so many people are afraid to, talk about it, but I'm going to be giving you my very honest opinion, especially from personal experience. I'm going to be talking about making friends, dating, work, racism, and life in general in Italy as a black girl. Starting with making friends. Now, in general, Italians are very warm people, very friendly and very curious kind of people. You can easily have a conversation with somebody. So if you are looking to just have a conversation with somebody, it comes easily. Just start talking about food, where you have been, what you did over the weekend, and you're going to have a full-blown conversation going on for even an hour or even more. So people are very friendly. If you can't find your way out, they can easily, show you where to go, even go out of their way to actually show you where you're going in case you want to start a conversation. So that's how friendly and warm they are. On the other hand, they have got very tight circles that are very, very hard to break into, because their bonds or their relationships and friendships root from way back when they were little. Most of them go to the same school, live on the same village, have the same experiences, go to the same clubs to, let's say, party or dance. So they are so connected from, let's say, kindergarten until university. You cannot just come and break into that circle. You will always feel left out because they'll probably be talking about a kindergarten joke or a high school joke that you don't really get. Yes, you can make friends, but it's not that deep, if you know what I mean. There are people that have Italians as very good friends, don't get me wrong, but usually it doesn't get that deep if you've just known them for a year or if you've just met them, which is different to other cities. I must also say that it is easier if you are, depending on where you are living in Italy. In metropolitan cities, it's very easy to make friends because there are so many foreigners, and it's easy to make friends with foreigners. In any case, you have so many things in common. You might start having the same hobbies. For example, if you go to the gym together, if you go to let's say dance lessons together, it's very, very easy to make friends from there because you share hobbies or you share something, as compared to places where there are less foreigners. As a black girl, it's easier to start with making foreigners as friends, as compared to jumping straight into the Italian circles and breaking them and trying to be friends. I heard that people in the southern part of Italy are more friendly than people in the northern part where I live. Just for context, I'd like to let you know that I am a black girl born and raised in Uganda. I was not born in Italy. I moved to Italy nearly 10 years ago. So this is my experience. Now, moving on to a very interesting topic, which is dating. As a black girl, I must say that I would say what Italians call their type, the Italian man type, because I am black and tall. They like anything that's different, tall and slim. They absolutely adore. And in general, I must say Italians are lovers and are very romantic. But like I said, if you are living in the northern cities, for example Milan where I live, where people are not that friendly, I must say, or that open into meeting new people and just going out to speak to people will admire you from afar. They will stare at you like wow, in amazement, but they will not have the courage to come and speak to you. So that makes dating a little bit I must say difficult or a bit challenging. It's not easy to meet people on the street and naturally or organically start a relationship, if you know what I mean. Usually people meet through close circles like work, or like, let's say, people that go to the same parties or to the same places, or to the same hobby spots, for example the gym, or go to the same park. That is how organic relationships start. But it's very difficult to start on the street, like you meet somebody on the go, and for example in Uganda, a man can approach you on the street and is like, hey, you look beautiful, can I get your number? Do you know what I mean? Or can we stay in touch? What do you do for a living? In Italy, it's looked at as aggression, so actually harassment. Men do not straight up walk up to a girl that they like and they're like, oh hey, I really like you, except if you're in like a very close setting, which is like at a party, which is also very intimate. And you know, it's not always that you're invited to these events, I must say. So people will just stare and look at you and admire you from afar and let you go most of the time. Now, lots of you have asked me about online dating in Italy. Yes, I must say online dating in Italy is not as popular as it is in the US or in the UK or even in different parts of the world, as dating apps have just become popular now. Italians are very conservative kinds of people. They usually meet in high school, in university, or in like close circles of friends and family. So for them to go on a dating app, first of all, they judge their friends that are on dating apps. Up until like 5 years ago, people were like not very open to going there. People were just going there to have a friend to have a coffee with, or to just see out of curiosity what is on the dating apps, or just to find a girl that, you know, they can just lay around with and it's nothing serious. It's recently that, you know, friends are actually getting married off dating apps. They're getting marriage partners off dating apps. It used not to be that way when I had just arrived. Dating apps weren't very popular, and whoever was on a dating app, people just thought you just wanted a one go and that's it, a one night stand and that's it, to go for a coffee, one dinner, one disco and that's it. There wasn't that much, you know, cultivating out of you know, out of those apps in terms of relationships, long-term relationships, marriages and commitments. But right now there are dating apps. There's so many. I have a friend's wedding that I'm about to attend in 2 months, and they met on a dating app. So yeah, it is happening right now, but still not as popular as I would say in the US or in the UK or in other countries where people talk about online dating as the main pool of, I'd say, potential suitors, where you actually go and put your profile and you get so many people looking at it, and they are serious. They have serious intentions to, you know, date for marriage, or date for long term, if you know what I mean, or for a commitment. Now, going to commitment, Italians can commit. They're very family people. They love their families. They're very family oriented. But their dating style is a bit different from what I am accustomed to. Where I was born, and that is Uganda, dating doesn't take that long. I am talking about 10 years, more than 10 years of dating. That is what is very common here in Italy. So I think it's naturally because they meet when they're young, let's say in high school, and then they have to date up until they're independent and able to start a family. But most of them actually go to, let's say, retirement with just a companion or a companion, where they're not married, but yeah, they're okay, they're together. The value and the virtue of commitment and marriage is not very popular at the moment. Don't get me wrong, Italians get married, they marry foreigners, but not really. And when it comes to black girls, it's not that popular as compared to, let's say, Paris, where there is almost everybody is paired up with a colored girl or a black girl, an Asian girl, a Latina. It's always like an intermarriage. In Italy, it's still not yet there. Actually, when they see a black girl and a white girl, they get lots of stares. Like if they're married or if they're like working together, they receive a lot of stares. So people are still just getting used to that and into that. So the beautiful couples that I see, black and white, and they're gorgeous, but I must say that the dating culture is a bit different. So if you're coming from a more open-minded kind of setting, this might shock you. The dating scene might shock you. Italians are very gorgeous men, metrosexual. They take very good care of themselves. They dress nicely. They are so romantic. They are so loving. They are charming. But some of them love their mummies a bit too much. Like, if you don't like mummy's boys, an Italian man might be a problem for you. Then the other thing is that if you are dating an Italian man and you're like black, and you ever think of, let's say, leaving or relocating, it's going to be a problem. A big problem for majority of them. They want to date you and keep you here. So if you are, let's say, aspiring to go and work abroad or anything, it might affect the relationship. They're not so keen on on, you know, exploring and traveling just because you're a partnership, if you know what I mean. They'd rather lose the relationship than leaving their comfort zone. Yeah. Another thing about, you know, dating as a black girl in Italy is that most of them look at you as like a fetish. They've probably not seen or not been with a black girl, so they're always like, oh, what does it feel like? Or what does it, you know, how is it? What is the experience like? Most of them come for the experience, and, you know, eventually they find that you're a nice person and they stick around, or they just get whatever they wanted and off they go. But I know some people that have had really good experiences. I have dated an Italian in the past. It was an amazing relationship. It was a very long-term relationship. Amazing guy, romantic, lovely family, ticked all the boxes. And I can't even say that there was, you know, lots of bad things about him. But, you know, that is the dating scene in Italy. That is the reality. The other thing that I've heard is that Italians, when it comes to black girls, they are less attracted, or they will approach thicker girls or girls that are heavy and thick and let's say plus size. They will approach them less compared to girls that are slim. And I usually speak to my friends about this, and they're thick. They're like, Italian guys don't really, we're not like the Italian type, because like guys just stare at you in disgust, which is very sad, whereas in my case they stare at me in admiration. So that is the experience of a black girl like dating in Italy. Otherwise, everything else naturally can come off nice and come off bad as any other part of, you know, the world. Moving on to work now. Finding a job generally as a black person in Italy depends on what kind of job. If it is a black collar job, easily 100% you're getting hired, like to wash places at a restaurant, hired, to take care of the elderly, quickly hired, babysitter, quickly hired. You easily tick the boxes if you are like a black person. If you're doing like a third, I would say not a third citizen kind of job, but like a black collar job as compared to white collar jobs. Now, the system in Italy is still a bit backward compared to the UK and other developed countries, where you send a CV without a picture on it and without your ethnicity and I think age. You just write, I think, your name, and yeah. But in Italy you have got to send a picture of yourself, you have got to send ethnicity, where you were born and when you were born, and these can create a bias if the employer is racist and does not like to hire, let's say, black people, or is against hiring more black people in the company. So it works both ways. It can be positive and negative, but I'll start with the negative. So if the employer doesn't like, let's say, black people in that position, they're definitely not going to even contact you back, or you won't hear back from them, and your CV will go to the trenches. So that's one part. Then the other part, which is the positive part, is where the company is looking to include, it's, you know, working towards inclusion and diversity, because right now it's very fashionable. There has to be like inclusion, even though it doesn't really exist, but at least have one person of color. It could be Asian, it could be black, and that's where you get the pass. So if you are black and you apply, they will look at your CV and be like, oh yeah, she can just represent colored people in our company, and then you will easily, you know, get the job. So it works both ways. But yes, there is segregation in the workplace, because usually you don't get as much pay, you don't get paid the same. There is systematic segregation in workplaces in Italy. I know black people that work in the same positions as white people, but then get paid differently, especially in the influencer world, and so many other white collar jobs where the benefits are very different. They'll simply play the card of he's Italian, so he gets these rights and you don't get them sometimes. But it is actually straight up racism in my opinion. Unfortunately, it's systematic, so you can't really do anything. Most of the employers, once you complain, they ask you to, I mean, either accept it, either take it or leave. Also, I'm aware of the world demographics and statistics, and the fact that there are less black people compared to white people in the whole world. Like, it's just the continent of Africa and a bit of Latin America, I think, that has got black people, and I would say a bit of America, but then the rest of the continents are filled with white people. So that is the truth, it's a fact. So I might understand a little bit, or to some extent, why in majority of Italian workspaces, you will find either 1, 2, or no black people working there, especially in white collar jobs. And usually if you find them in these white collar jobs, or I would say like office or high-end jobs, or jobs that pay really highly in Italy, in the Italian job market, they will be at like junior positions, or they're going to be maximum at middle management. You will not find a black person in higher management and senior management, executive management positions. Absolutely, I haven't seen one. If you know one, let me know. They are like numbered. I can count them on my fingers, the number of people that I know that are in senior management in these kinds of workspaces. As compared to Paris, I like to compare to Paris because it's very close, and I have been so many times, and I like how the systems work. Once you go to Paris, the dynamic is different. The dynamic is different. You are going to, I'll give an example. I had a problem with my etiquette at the airport, and I was asked to stay, I think, for an extra night or something of the sort, and I asked to speak to the manager, like to the airport manager, because I had things to do, and to get me fixed somewhere on a flight to get back to Milan. And I was very proud and I was very impressed to see a black, gorgeous woman walking towards me as the manager of the entire airport that night. Guys, I was impressed. I mean, I would like to see these things in Italy. So I spoke to her. She spoke different languages, which really I find is very amazing, especially about Paris. I asked her if she was born in Paris. She's like, no, I just migrated to Paris. I mean, there are opportunities for people that were not born there, and they come in, and as long as they are qualified and they have the experiences, they are given the positions, which is a bit different in Italy. You will be qualified, you will have the experience, but there is a certain level, it's a systematic kind of like discrimination, where they say she's not passing here or he is not passing here, especially women. It's a man's world, guys. It's a man's world. But yeah, as a black woman in Italy, I feel this, I experience it. If you have not experienced it, let me know in the comment section below, but I'm speaking from my own experience, and my opinion is valid. I also received this question from one of you, and the question was like, do black people get paid enough for their experience and their worth? And I said, I work in an international company, and the pay scale is not clear, so I believe everything is the same in Italy. I've had lots of people working in international companies, and it's the same. People working in Italian companies, and it is the same. And the pay scales are not clear. You will find that some people are paid more and you're paid less, and they're going to give you an excuse of like, but so and so comes from, let's say, a first world country, and the taxes are more, so that is why they're justifying this. But you are doing the same job, so okay, the company can pay those taxes for the person, but why is the net not the same if you're doing the same job? Anyways, it is unfair, but it is the world we're living in. I don't even like get angry at all anymore about this, because I just learned to live at peace with it, because I don't want it to get on my mind, because it affects the way it does affect the way that I work. I also received another question that is it easy to get a job as a black person in Italy? I would say if you apply, yes, you are going to stand a chance to get a job, just like anywhere else in the world. It's not just about black people, but like I mentioned earlier, it depends on the industry. If you're looking for like a black collar job, absolutely, quickly and immediately, almost. If you are looking for a white collar job, it is going to take you you're going to take a few series of CVs, interviews, and a lot of screening to make sure that you actually qualify for the job. But yeah, like I mentioned before, it does depend on the industry, depends on the country and on the company's strategy. If it wants to have a bit more diversity and inclusion, they are more willing to hire people of color. If it's not, absolutely not. And this does not just affect black people that are immigrants like myself. It does affect also like black people that were born here, who are called Afro-Italians. Like, they face the same, and that is where I get questions about when they say that I cannot get the benefits because I'm not Italian, while my Italian colleagues who are white can get the benefits, but then black Italians cannot get the benefits. This is where I say it is a discrimination, in my opinion. When it comes to life in general, I would say I'll start with beauty, because I like beauty. When I first moved to Milan, there weren't so many beauty shops selling foundation, let's say, or beauty products for dark-skinned girls. Now you'd go in there and for example, I wouldn't have a shade. Like from me and anywhere darker than me, there wouldn't be a shade, or it would be difficult to find a shade. And the brands that had the right shades were so expensive at the time that I couldn't afford them. But then now things have changed. There's more foreigners now, more brands are coming into Milan, bringing the competition, and so things have changed a little bit. You can find lots of other products. All my foundation I bought in Italy, which is great. Things have changed. I've seen very darker, skin complexions having their, foundation found here, and makeup and everything. So things are changing. Probably things will evolve even better, but I must say that finding beauty products for dark-skinned people is really expensive. I don't know why, and it's difficult. There's limited shops where you can find them. You just have to know where. Let's not talk about hair salons. Now, hair salons back where I come from are open all the time. They do an amazing job at a very low cost. Now in Italy, it's the opposite. Very few, barely not there. You have to look for a good one. The prices are ridiculous. You have to book an appointment. It's that little hassle that makes that makes life difficult for you as a black girl. But I mean, if you can find yourself a good hairdresser. I do share my hairdressers every time I share my vlogs. If you can check them out, you can check out who does my hair. She does a good job. Just keep them and keep going back to them, and keep searching. Of course you will find people, but there are very few black good hairdressers in Italy. And I'm talking about Milan, which is a metropolitan city. I don't know about the other cities in Italy. Another thing is restaurants. Now I would like to go to a restaurant and then have the option to have an African cuisine, or like a Latin American cuisine, or a Caribbean cuisine served. But there are very few restaurants that actually do that in Italy. They're actually numbered, and they're not, let's say, open all the time, and you don't get what you want all the time, if you know what I mean, as opposed to going to an Italian restaurant and ordering pasta. Everybody can serve pasta. Even non-Italian restaurants do serve pasta. So I'm just saying that if you're coming into Italy with the expectation of finding, oh, I'll find an Indian shop, or I'll find an African shop, there are very few. You have to look for them, and things are ridiculously priced in those shops. So you have to be careful and ready to pay, I would say, that extended or extra cost. The same, that's it. The same applies to African, let's say, markets that have got African foods. You will find like a limited amount of things, or a limited variety of things that you would like to have, and most of them don't even cater for, let's say, for all the black people, kind of like, I would say, spices, or like needs food wise. You will just find something that you can relate to. If you are a fan of, African food, and you'd like to eat that, and let's say Caribbean food, you just work with what is there, like work with the means, basically. Now, going to racism. I think this is the biggest elephant in the room right now. Racism in Italy, does it exist? Yes, it does exist. Does it happen on the daily? It does happen, but not to me all the time, not to the same people all the time and every day. Now I'm going to give you an experience why I say it does happen. I use public transport to go to work and to move around in Milan, and usually on the bus or on the metro, if there are controllers looking for tickets or looking out for who is not like validating their tickets, or it is usually focused on black people. White people will just be running through and doing whatever they want, and this controller will just be focused on you and making sure you have it. So what I do if I have the time and I want to play is I just pretend like I lost it, or I can't find it, or blah blah blah, and then after like 5 of them come around me and then they try to ask me all these questions, I pull it out, and like it's a monthly ticket, and they all just get so upset. But they do this every month, and they are in the same spot. Now I work in an area called Repubblica, so every beginning of month there are controllers. They know me, they have seen me. Sometimes it's the same people controlling me, but still they do the same. So absolutely it does exist. And why do I say it exists? It's because my white counterparts who are always going through do not get as much attention or aggression as I do get, or as other black people get. Now I'm not saying it only happens to black girls. It also happens to black men. Usually once a controller, I'm saying this because in the trains it happens, once a black controller looks for a black man looking for a seat, he's going to leave his job of controlling and asking for tickets and follow this black man to see where he's going to sit and ask for a ticket from that black man, leaving everybody else seated. It bothers me. It does bother me. And I'm like, okay, so there are lots of other people who are seated. Why don't you ask, go systematically, and then when you get there, that doesn't show racism. But when you focus on one person and try to, crucify them, ask them, gather around them, intimidate them is the word, it is straight up racism, in my opinion. This is funny, but also I've noticed that Italians are racist towards themselves. It's so funny. You will find that Italians who have got something in common always talk down on others who don't have it. For example, usually if they come from a certain region, they behave a certain way, they have a different culture, they have a different dialect and all that. So usually people from the north just make fun of people from the south and vice versa, and they just talk down on them. So it's not just towards black girls or towards black people or foreigners, it's also amongst themselves. Like, it does happen. You're like, no, we can't go to that restaurant because they're like from the south, or you know what I mean. I'm like, what do you mean? It's just like, you're all Italians. It is funny, but it does happen. Another sad truth about racism in Italy is that it is also towards like Italians that were born here but of, like, let's say different background and culture. People that were born in Italy but of Latin American origin, or born in Italy but of African descent, they do receive a lot of segregation and discrimination, and they are not actually considered as Italian up to when I think they're 18, which I think is so racist and is not okay. Like, why would they do that? Because if you're born in a country, you basically just know about Italy, you don't know about any other country. For example, if I was born in Italy, I don't think I would know much about Uganda, even though my folks are from like Uganda. But yeah, they're not considered Italians, and they're usually discriminated and they don't get the opportunities. I know this video might have a bit of backlash where people are like, no, it's not true. It is true. It is absolutely true. Afro-Italians do not get equal opportunities as white Italians. This is a very sensitive topic, and I think I'm not the right person to speak about it, so I'm going to just leave it at that and maybe leave the conversation for another day. Maybe I can host an Afro-Italian to come and tell us their experience, but I'm going to just leave it at that. The other bits of racism in Italy aren't really direct, but it does happen and it is there and it's implied. A lot is missing in inclusion in this country, and it comes out faintly or lightly through things like, for example, in the modeling industry. I recently went on set. It was like a fashion show, and I went behind the scenes and I realized that all the white models had hair and makeup done on set, while all the black models had just makeup done and no hair done on set. But they were all going to do the same job, if you know what I mean. So it's these little things that imply racism is there, but they don't really just say, okay, we're not catering for the black models. We're not catering for hair for the black models. They could get hair specialists who are specialized in doing and catering for black hair, for black girl hair, and then have them also have the service on set. Instead, as a black model, you're supposed to do your hair beforehand, and then you go on set with it ready, while a black girl just has a shower. While a white girl just has a shower and goes and has hair and makeup done on set. These things happen. If the makeup for the black girl is done right, hallelujah. Otherwise, sometimes it is some patches. It's not done right sometimes. I'm just being honest. You can Google models, like black models makeup. It's hilarious sometimes. But yeah, it does happen. Yes, they've been given the opportunity to work on the job, but they're not given they're not given equal priorities as their white counterparts. And this to me is segregation. This to me is discrimination and is racism. Has this happened to me? Yes, sometimes. Has racism happened to me directly and indirectly? Yes, directly and indirectly. Does it bother me so much? Not anymore. It doesn't bother me so much anymore because I'm very vocal and I, talk back and I, express myself about how I feel, and usually that helps me deal with it. Is it so bad, or does it happen every day that it will make me leave Italy? If I'm to leave Italy, it will not be because of racism. No, absolutely not. It doesn't happen to me every day. It doesn't happen to me every month, but the one time it happens, it does hurt bad, like really, really bad. Do I see people being segregated every day? No. Do I see black people being killed in the streets every day? Absolutely not. But it happens every once in a while that, you know, a black person died because of this and that, or a black person was treated badly in the news and all that. And who knows what is not covered in the news? Who knows what happens behind back doors and people don't talk about or speak up about? So yes, if I'm to ever leave Italy, it will definitely not be because of racism. It's not so bad that, you know, it's every single day that a controller bothers me with my ticket, and I give them the permission to either bother me or not to bother me at this stage, because I'm so good at, you know, speaking Italian and good at expressing myself. I know the Italian law to a certain extent. So yes, that's it. That's my black girl story in Italy. It has been so long. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're a black girl in Italy, if you are a black girl in Italy or elsewhere in the world, let me know about your experience being a black girl in that city. How is work? How is life? How is dating? How is racism? How's everything in that city? Do you get different kind of treatment because you're black? Because you're a black girl? Because there's one thing being black and then there's another thing being a black girl. Like, so let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe, give this video a like, share it with your friends, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.